Hi there, I hope everyone's having a great summer. This month, August, marks the 50th anniversary of the birth of hip-hop. I can't believe it because it just seemed like yesterday, this genre popped up, and for me, it just sets off a lot of wonderful memories. I've been able to experience hip-hop in real time. So I grew up in a predominantly black city or a city with high African-American population. So my childhood was, it was fantastic because it was very multicultural, and I was surrounded by funk music, soul music, and hip hop, and it was just really exciting. And I just have such fond and vivid memories of our dance nights at my junior high school when I was very young, and they would play all these hip-hop classics. I just thought, wow, you know what? I'm going to dig out some of my hip-hop LPs and feature them in this video. And I want to say, hip-hop is such a big genre, and forgive me if I don't mention some of the big names in rap hip-hop, okay? The birth of hip-hop has been traced back to an exact date, and that's on the 11th of August 1973. And apparently it all kicked off at a back-to-school party that was held in an apartment block in the Bronx, and the woman who was organizing it, she got her brother, who was a DJ, to play the music. And what happened was he showed up with 2 turntables, and he had 2 copies of an album, and what he did was he'd play 1 copy on 1 turntable, and whenever there was a break beat or a beat that was really funky and got the people dancing, what he would do is the second turntable would be queued up, and he would play that beat from the start, so that beat would be on a loop, and that's what they called a merry-go-round. It was basically looping, and apparently people just went wild, and that party moved from that recreation room in this apartment block out to the streets because it was so oversubscribed and people were just having such a great time. Like I said earlier, it's very nostalgic for me, and I actually experienced hip-hop in real time, the early days of hip-hop, so it's really exciting. And a couple of the songs I still listen to this day. When I feel like I'm in a really funky, hip-hop mood, I'll play that playlist. And what I'm going to do is I decided that I'm going to just pull out some hip-hop records and to show you. And normally when I do these videos, they're pretty random. I mean, they're not in any particular order, but this time I thought it would be really good to kind of put them in order because I think it actually tells a story of how the hip-hop evolved in the 80s and up until the 90s. The first one I want to show you is Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. Here's the back. 1980. And the big hit is The Message, and that song epitomizes what some critics call today conscious hip-hop. And it's about the social economic situation for the black community in America, in urban cities, big cities like Detroit, New York, and so on. So it was a real social commentary of what was going on in the late 1970s and in the early 80s. They are the first hip-hop group to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that's amazing, isn't it? So that was back in 2007. And also the Library of Congress determined that the song The Message was of cultural significance, and it's actually listed in this National Registry of Music, which is a really big deal. The second album I want to show you is Grandmaster and Mel Mel's song White Lines. This came out in 1983. It's a great song. It's a real floor filler. This is a maxi single I got. The song is quite long. You've got the lyrics kind of shown here on the pavement or sidewalk, and then you've got, it's quite gritty, the image, and you've got two people here. They look like they're passed out, and you've got some drug paraphernalia in the background there. So that song talked about the dangers of cocaine, and also maybe the injustices too that happened when maybe you had two systems of justice, because there is a line in that song talking about a businessman gets arrested for 28 kilos of cocaine, but then he pretty much gets off scot-free. That's in reference to John DeLorean. And I remember, again, this is in real time, I remember the news when it happened, when he got caught trying to sell cocaine. It was, I think there was an FBI sting. And that's the John DeLorean of the DeLorean car that's featured in Back to the Future. Also show you the Sugar Hill label. Both those records I just showed you, they're on the Sugar Hill label there. So you had a lot of small record companies cropping up at that time, because that was the only kind of like vehicle for these artists to get their music out. Third LP I want to show you is Beastie Boys' License to Kill. This was released on Def Jam Records in 1986. It was produced by Rick Rubin. A lot of people may know today as the person who tracked down Johnny Cash and recorded those phenomenal songs by Johnny Cash doing covers of modern songs. The person who managed Beastie Boys was Russell Simmons, which is a big name in the hip-hop world. So the next album I want to show you is LL Cool J's fourth studio album. It's called Bad, and it's got the big hit, I'm Bad. So you can see here, he's actually posing in front of his high school. He was a high school dropout. And then the back image is interesting. You know, he's boxing in it looks like a basement. It's actually a room at his grandmother's house. He's another big name in hip hop. And so far, all the albums I've shown you, this one and the ones I'm going to show you, they represent the golden era of hip hop. LL Cool J, he had a big rivalry with MC Hammer. So because you know, LL Cool J, you know, he's from the East Coast, and then MC Hammer is from the West Coast. You know, West Coast rappers, they were known to be doing a gangster rap, and then the East Coast rappers were known to be doing what you call hardcore rap. You can see that the hype sticker, there's actually a warning. It says it contains a few words that may offend some listeners. This reflects what was going on in America at that time. There was this big lobby group by parents who were really upset, saying that a lot of the music that was coming out was obscene and explicit. And it wasn't just rappers or hip-hop musicians. I think I remember Guns N' Roses was one band that was cited, as well as Prince. And I remember seeing the news stories on television. You know, you had these lobby groups in Congress testifying and trying to censor music. So that was a big deal during this time, and that's when we started seeing warnings on some of the LPs there. So I want to show you this album. It's NAA's debut album, Straight Outta Compton. It came out in 1988. It's an absolute classic. So they're always going to be listed on, you know, the best hip-hop albums ever, etc. This was produced by Ruthless Priority Records and produced by Dr. Dre, Yella, and Arabian Prince. The vocals here by Ice Cube, MC Ren, rapper DOC. And this was actually first album to have the required label warning that these songs contain explicit lyrics. And it says parental guidance suggested. I love the cover of this one. It's a Big Daddy Kane. Long live the Kane. I love it. It's the scene is like a Roman scene, and he's surrounded by these beautiful women. It's a huge contrast to the back photograph of Big Daddy with his friends just chilling out in the living room and playing a board game. So how incongruous is that? And I love the name of the record labels. They're pretty cool. So this one was released by Cold Chillin' Records. So you've got Run DMC, another huge name in hip-hop, classic golden era hip-hop group. This is their fourth studio album. You all know that big hit Walk This Way when they collaborated with Aerosmith. You know, sometimes people call their hip hop rock hop, okay, giving it that hard rock guitar sound to their music and their rapping, and the video is just awesome. Here we have Ice-T's album, Iceberg, 1989 album. You know, the artwork is pretty heavy. He's got like 2 guns pointed at him and a shotgun in his mouth, and the title of this is actually quite long. So it's The Iceberg, Freedom of Speech, Just Watch What You Say. So again, this reflects what was going on then about the censorship campaign that was taking place in the late 80s. So, you know, the songs that are quite telling of the times: Shut Up, Be Happy, Freedom of Speech, you know, so that just goes back to all those censorship campaigns that were taking place in the late 80s. So this is his 3rd studio album, Ice-T. I just love these guys, and I've actually talked about their album in an earlier video. And it's De La Soul's 3 Feet High and Rising. I just love these guys. There you go. So this album came out in 1989. And it's just really fun, whimsical, playful, you name it. And I just felt it was kind of revolutionary in a way, because they had so many segues and really fun segues. They would have like sounds from a game show and just things that didn't make sense. They'll just take you in so many different directions, and that's what I think is genius and makes it an amazing album. So you got there, and even the artwork reflects the playfulness of this band. People in the rapping hip-hop community started calling them hippie rappers or hippie hop, because maybe some people felt that it wasn't gritty enough, it wasn't hard-hitting enough. To De La Soul's credit, they stayed true to their interpretation of hip-hop. So it's, you know, it's worth mentioning that their follow-up album in 1991, it's called De La Soul Is Dead, and then it features a dead flower in a flower pot that's tipped over. Their message was basically hip-hop apparently was going in a negative direction. It was going a bit too gangster for them. So apparently that was their message, and their follow-up album reflected that. Then you had Queen Latifah coming onto the scene. This is in 1989, All Hail the Queen. They were still in the golden era of hip-hop. Queen Latifah, she actually features De La Soul in one of her songs. And it's called Mama Gave Birth to the Soul Children. It's pretty cool. I don't know if that's a nod to De La Soul saying, you know what, you guys are hippie hop, and it's okay. I don't know. So the signature song on here is called Mommy Love. So this is Two Live Crew's 1989 album. It's their 3rd studio album, and it comes with a warning: explicit language contained. There was, again, you know, the censorship campaign that was going on, and the following year, David Bowie, he was performing in Philadelphia, and he was singing this song called Young Americans, and he apparently stopped in the middle of the song and started talking about what was going on with Two Live Crew, because there was some district court in Florida that tried to ban this album. In support of Two Live Crew, he told the audience that he went out and bought this LP to show his support against censorship. And he even admitted, he said, well, you know, it wasn't his cup of tea really, but, you know, it was just, you know, supporting his fellow musician. So here you have 1989, this came out, Booyah Tribe. They came out with their hit single, Raid. This is actually a maxi single. So there you go. So what's really cool about the Booyah Tribe, and I really wanted to include it in this video, is that this is a Samoan American hip-hop band, and it's made up of 4 brothers. And they're all from California. You know, in California, there's a huge Polynesian American community. And I think it's just so cool that, you know, hip hop, you know, appeals to a lot of people. And it's great that they were able to express their artistry when they did this song. And the video It's pretty gangster. It takes place in a prison. Groups like the Booyah Tribe and a lot of other maybe smaller, not well-known hip-hop artists, they kind of got lost in the shuffle because, you know, after that golden era of hip-hop, you had a proliferation of rappers and hip-hop artists and hip-hop bands coming out. The following year, you've got Public Enemy. You know, they've come out with a big hit, Brother's Gonna Work It Out. This is a 4-track, 12-inch. So that song is from their album called Fear of Black Planet. So that's quite interesting, isn't it? The title of their album. So it's worth mentioning that album has so many samples from Prince's Let's Go Crazy, and then you've got some sampling from George Clinton's Atomic Dog, and also some sampling from James Brown's song. That's the artistry of hip-hop. They do a lot of creative sampling and, you know, giving the songs a little bit of a different twist. So I love it. So this came out in 1993. I absolutely love the Wu-Tang Clan. This is Enter the Wu-Tang. It's their debut album. And this is a reissue, so I got it on yellow colored vinyl. I actually bought this to gift to someone, and what happened was the person was not keen on having it. I thought, okay, great, I'll keep it. So I just love their music, and there's a great story behind their debut album because apparently they used very cheap, low-end equipment to record their songs. What initially looked like their weakness was actually their strength, because this album is known to be really gritty and more real and more raw, not overproduced, you know, like in some fancy studio. Isn't that brilliant? So their weakness became their strength. This 36 Chambers album, they are just genius because the way they sample songs, they sample soul music along with samples from old Chinese kung fu movies like Enter the Dragon, you know, old Bruce Lee movies, you know, old Shaolin Temple martial arts fighting movies, and it's just brilliant. It sounds crazy at first, you know, it seems so incongruous, but it all comes together and it just works, at least for me, and I love it. A documentary about the Wu-Tang Clan, and I hadn't realized that all these guys, they were just crazy about all these Chinese kung fu martial arts films, and they just knew so much about the philosophy of you know, martial arts, you know, different forms, and you know, the whole philosophy behind, you know, the Shaolin Temple and monks, etc. So I thought, wow, you know, respect, right? These guys really know their stuff. For some reason, when I listen to this album, I keep thinking that they kind of remind me of De La Soul if they had gone down the gritty route, because it's kind of fun and it's very quirky, but gritty as well. Last year, the Library of Congress, you know, recognized the Wu-Tang Clan's 36 Chambers album as culturally significant. So it's in their National Music Registry. So how cool is that? Lastly, I wanted to save this for the last. It's MC Hammer's debut album on Capitol Records. What happened was he had a debut album on his Busted Records label, and it sold 60,000 copies. And he and his wife at the time, they were like personally like promoting it and you know, getting radio stations to play his music, and you know, going to events, nightclubs, and you know, getting his record played. And you know, it caught the attention of Capitol Records, and then what happened was Capitol Records signed him on as a joint venture with his Busted Records. The rest is history.
Let's go.
He said that he wanted to take hip-hop and make a more musical version of it. So he brought on a lot of dancers, and then it was a lot about the performance as well, not only the rapping. So there was a lot of dancing, backup singers, backup dancers, and more players on the stage. So I have a soft spot for MC Hammer because he is from Oakland, California, and I'm just going to tell you this story. He was young, 11 years old. He used to pick up stray baseballs from the Oakland Coliseum, where the Oakland A's used to play, the baseball team. And he would try to sell these baseballs, and then he had a little boombox, and he would perform in the parking lot of the Oakland Coliseum.
Let's go.
Apparently he was so good, you know, he caught the attention of the Oakland A's owner, Charlie Finley, and Charlie Finley hired him to be a bat boy. And also 11-year-old Stanley Burrell becomes his go-to person, reporting the play-by-play and all the goings-on in the Oakland A's clubhouse. You know Reggie Jackson, he was the slugger, kind of like the home run king for the Oakland A's. He credits himself for giving MC Hammer the nickname Hammer because he said that little Stanley Burrell looked like Hank Aaron, and Hank Aaron had the nickname Hammer. So that's why they called Stanley Burrell Hammer. And then the MC came later. Stanley Burrell was so magnificent in being the master of ceremonies for little gigs and events around the clubhouse, etc., that they nicknamed him MC Hammer. So that's how he got the name. So I think that's quite an incredible story. I just love the Oakland A's. I love baseball, and so I just want to show you. I got my little Oakland A's baseball there. I don't know if you can see. It's a bit, there you go, there. And I've got my mitt as well. So I do play catch sometimes in my garden. And as the NFL season is kicking off, I am a diehard Raiders fan. So there you go. I know, you know, the Raiders have left Oakland, but I will always support the silver and black. And I have so many fond memories of the football team, the baseball team, and Oakland. And, you know, so this whole hip-hop anniversary really resonated with me. It really spoke to me, and I just had the good fortune experiencing the early days in real time when hip-hop started to take off. And I want to say that there's so many hip-hop artists, so many that, you know, if I tried to talk about them all, we're going to be here till Christmas, right? But this is just my selection of some of the LPs I wanted to show you, and to throw in a bit of the nostalgia for me, you know, with my childhood and with MC Hammer. So I hope you enjoyed it. Do drop me a line, let me know what some of your hip-hop LPs are, or who's your favorite hip-hop artist. Thanks for watching.